Não é tempo técnico, mas é intervalo aqui no podcast. Já imaginou se seu time tivesse um seguro para não perder nunca? Pois é, isso não existe. Mas com a Zurich Seguros, quem não perde nunca é você. Na Zurich Seguros, os planos se adequam às suas necessidades em qualquer momento da sua vida. Seja seguro de auto, residência, vida e muito mais. Diferente de alguns times, na Zurich Seguros você pode confiar. Para saber mais, acesse zurich.com.br ou consulte seu corretor.
And welcome back to the Skating Penguin Network, everyone. It is Robbie, joined by Snail out in Seattle, and we are back with a new mailbag segment. It's been a little while since we did a full-on mailbag, so we have some questions to dive into. But before we do that, Snail, how is it going on this Monday for you out there in the Pacific Northwest?
It's nice. It's been just, dude, atmospheric, just like downpour for the past like 2 weeks maybe.
Oh, geez.
It's been like really like Seattle's in like early form for winter. It's like
Okay.
straight up wet season out here. But today we get a little break from it. It's just a cloudy day, kind of windy. It's a nice fall day, honestly. It's not too cold. But yeah, all's well out here in the Pacific Northwest. How are things out there in Western PA? How'd the Steelers do?
The Steelers had a barn burner with the Ravens yesterday, but did get a very significant win, 18-16. Another close one between the two rivals. So all good there.
Nice.
Everybody's feeling good on this Monday. 8-2 in good position now heading into this second half of the season. They have a quick turnaround. There's the Thursday night game this week. So
Short week.
Short week, very short week. So turn around on to Thursday night. But weather-wise out here, just a cloudy day, but it is supposed to get rainy later this week. And we actually have a chance of snow coming this weekend. So we'll see how that holds up as the week goes along. But, yeah, definitely winterish, dreary weather starting to set in. The warm weather is definitely gone. But we persist, and the last time we talked, it was Saturday night. The Penguins hung on for a shootout victory after, doing what the Penguins do, blow a lead. But they did win in a shootout, which is a vast improvement over what they usually do in the shootout. But we sit here now, the Penguins. The Penguins are the Penguins, I think, at this point. But
yeah.
we keep it. We try to keep our hopes up, and a big week ahead here with another 3 games. So when we're done with this mailbag, it'll be back to recaps the rest of this week. And any thoughts on the Penguins besides what we've kind of been frustrated about for the past 6 weeks now?
I was just taking a look here actually as you were talking about them. So the Penguins currently sit with 17 points, 20 games played, 17 points. Not great, but it's, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. We talked about this even, I think, last year. It's Detroit right beneath the Penguins. It's Pittsburgh. It's Buffalo. It's Ottawa. The Detroit has 15 points, but Buffalo, Ottawa, and the Pens all have 17. The Islanders have 18. The Flyers, who I'm still not sure about if they are who they are, with 18 points. It's a logjam. I mean, there is an opportunity for a team to go on a run here and get ahead, like in the next couple of weeks. Like they always, we always say American Thanksgiving, not only the only Thanksgiving that matters, but also kind of the you are what you are point in the season. There's some percentage that's out there that if you're in the playoffs at Thanksgiving, it's pretty much a lock that you're going to be a playoff team at the end of the season come April. So, I mean, there's an opportunity for teams like not just the Penguins, but this Buffalo team who hasn't seen the playoffs since the Bush administration. You have the Ottawa Senators who they're not so far removed from the playoff picture, but they've been rebuilding for a while now. The Penguins hanging around with it right there with them, kind of like what we talked about. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those teams. Are they going to make the playoffs? Prove it to me. And they're all kind of bunched up again in the same place. It's Groundhog's Day again this year. So
yeah.
it's not like all hope is lost for the Penguins' playoff hopes for those glass half full folks out there listening. But man, they don't have an easy schedule coming up, but it's there for whoever wants it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Penguins are they're not good. They've struggled this year. We've documented that pretty extensively, but it doesn't seem like right now anybody really wants to pull away. It might just be a season-long mid-off for those wild card spots. So, I mean, if the Penguins can just stack a couple wins, you never know what happens. Anything can happen. So you just
Or a
kind of have
coaching
to,
change, maybe.
yeah, just kind of have to bear down and hope for the best. See what they can put together. It would be very frustrating if again they miss by like let's say 4 or 6 points, where maybe a coaching change gets you that 4 or 6 points, or we look back and these games that they blew and end up losing in overtime or giving a point away where they didn't have to come
Yeah.
back to bite them. But for now, they are what I would call in the hunt. Again, still very early, still have a lot of work to do, a long season left, but with as bad as they played, it could be a lot worse. So silver linings is what I'm going to say as we head into approach Thanksgiving and December here.
Yep. So those are my thoughts on the Penguins right now. Love the way the youth is playing. I'll even say
Oh yeah,
Sam Poole, that third line for the Penguins. I think they're good. I really, Robbie, no hate against the guy. I feel like I always have to preface my statement with that, but I just don't understand the Nieto thing. Like, I don't really understand. He's a 32-year-old fourth liner. I just like, why is he taking up a spot for a young guy? I don't know. That's just my gripe, I think, with the Nieto thing. He's been injured for a few years. If you want to get rid of him, he has to play, so he has some sort of trade value. But I think even the signing in the beginning, I just didn't understand Dubas's obsession with Matt Nieto.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. You kind of forgot him for a while, and he's healthy now, but we'll see how long it lasts. I'm not gonna hold my breath that it's gonna last forever. So.
Right on. Well, let's get to some questions.
Yep.
I'll kick off the mailbag here with a question for Robbie coming from our pal Tony Gale. And he says, reminiscing on the past a bit here, he says, so about a year ago we were discussing the potential of goaltending issues.
Yeah.
Turns out that that was the least of our problems. This season, it seems we've gone backwards with issues all over. Is that an agreed on statement? I think so.
Yeah. Goaltending has been. I mean, obviously the focal point here is going to be Tristan Jarry. Of the three goalies the Penguins have played this year, I think by far and away has been the worst of the three. He's the only one that has been sent to the AHL on a extended conditioning assignment. Technically, Nedeljkovic went down there coming off injury, and Blomqvist was sent down because of a roster crunch. But Jarry, it started that first game. It's not even like we got like a glimmer of hope. It was the first shot of the first game that just completely sent everything off the rails. It was bad from the start. It has not. Like sometimes goalies, even when you have those bad starts to games and seasons, you still have moments of, okay, he's figuring it out. Jarry hasn't had that at all at the NHL level.
He hasn't put together a game that boosts any confidence in anything. He hasn't even had like one good game in the NHL.
No, that's like it feels like there's not even moments in games. Like Blomqvist has had some rough patches, but he's given you moments of like, okay, he's figuring it out, still developing, still young. Nedeljkovic has made what game was it? Was it the Detroit game where? No, it was a game they did win. That he made like a couple major saves in the final like 2 minutes that Jarry wouldn't have made. Like he was just making saves to keep the Penguins from losing in regulation. He was outstanding. Yeah, it hasn't been perfect for the other two, but Jarry's just been.
Ducks?
Yeah, that's who it was.
I think it was against the Ducks. He had some saves, I think, that were pretty good.
But Jarry's given you no signs that he, one, is confident, two, is even kind of figured anything out. He's playing bad. He's played bad all season from opening night He was good in the AHL, but that doesn't really mean anything if you can't carry it over to the NHL then. So the goaltending, we talked about it because, and we've mentioned this on the recaps, the roster is not awful. The roster is better than it was last year, but the goaltending is worse. The defense leaves a lot to be desired at times, but the way the defense is set up, that's going to be an issue. You need a goalie that can get you some saves, and Jari has not provided that. Blomqvist and Nedeljkovic have more than they have not. So a better roster, but the goaltending has just been absolutely atrocious this year, and it's really, really killing them. And their lack of any ability to overcome adversity, which is more of a coaching off the ice thing, just anytime the crap hits the fan, the whole house of cards just crumbles. So, yeah, goaltending, we've said it was going to be a problem. It still is a problem, especially with the roster. I think, at least in my opinion, and I know you share the opinion, that a better roster than past years, but still many issues with the goaltending. All right, sticking with Tony here. Despite dropping 3 late goals to the Sharks, there are signs of life with a young roster. Solly said of the younger players bring a certain level of urgency to their game, and that can be contagious. Is this the route that the Penguins need to take?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, they're committed to getting younger. They haven't had, I mean, the Penguins haven't had a stocked cupboard, so to say, of prospects like for very long at all, and they just in these last 2 years have acquired like a couple of young good assets, unproven, but prospects worth getting, at least a glimmer of hope, some excitement about. No, I wouldn't say any home run blue chippers in there, but some good players, and they're already kind of showing a little bit of promise, and it's nothing that you want to get too excited about yet, get your hopes too high on, but man, I was just talking with you, Robbie, about it. Like, I think that third line of I thought Sam Poulin has shown to be good. He can be kind of a good bottom six, like a Teddy Bluger, maybe like a Teddy Bluger or a I don't know, a Nick Bonino esque, like Nick Bonino without Kessel and Hagelin.
Yeah.
I like, who I really like too is, and he's not necessarily a prospect, but that Puljujarvi. I think Puljujarvi's found a nice home in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
I would like to see him extended. I don't want to see crazy money given to him. I don't want Dubas pulling like a Austin Matthews, Nylander, Marner situation and giving him $10 million a year for 10 years. But I love Puljujarvi and what he brings. He's fast. He can shoot. He's a big body. He's laying the body. I love it. I even like, just from the very quick sample size, I think he had maybe 8 minutes of ice time or something, and that was Ponomarev. Your favorite name in the NHL.
Yeah.
Ponomarev, I thought, looked good. He looks kind of like a greasy little. He's fast, kind of a straight up and down player. Nothing too fancy, but I liked his game in the little bit of ice time he got. We've been Jack St. Ivany stands since he first came into the. Since he first came on the scene with the Penguins last year, and I think that he deserves more ice time. He's a true defensive defenseman, plays with some ruggedness and a little bit of piss and vinegar. I love that. I think the Penguins have needed that. Think of like Chad Ruhwedel, for those who maybe haven't been watching all the games. He's kind of like a more reliable Chad Ruhwedel who's angry all the time. I love it. So, and that's, Owen Pickering made his NHL debut. I thought he had a point in his first game.
He did.
There were some question marks around Owen Pickering if we were gonna see him anytime soon. I think there was a report at one point that he hadn't been developing as quickly as maybe a first round 6'4" defenseman you'd hope he would, but I thought he looked pretty comfortable in the third pairing minutes he was allotted in the Penguins last game. And I've said it, Robbie, too. They bring urgency, like Sullivan said, but I think it's more they bring. They don't have this stench on them of losing. They've been good in on their respective junior or college teams. They've found success at these younger levels, and they're coming in with something to prove to the NHL. Maybe that relates. Maybe that comes across as urgency, but they just don't have this like stale stench on them that the Penguins have kind of marinated in now for a couple of years, and they're coming in with something to prove. And I think the more youth you get into this lineup, I think the more you're going to see that translate on the ice. They're not maybe some of those big gaffes defensively, some of those bad habits that a lot of this Penguins team has and shows night after night. These guys don't have that quite yet. They haven't been losing, so they're going to come in with a little bit of a fresh slate and some urgency, something to prove. They want to be NHLers. So I love it, and I think that going forward, you got to commit to that. I think that the Penguins need to just keep, and it would, I would love for the Penguins to be in a spot where they're solidified in a playoff spot with this youth, and then maybe at the trade deadline, you go out and you get a veteran player, but not someone necessarily to replace those minutes. But yeah, it'd be cool if they were in a position where they were looking at veterans again at the trade deadline as opposed to selling them off. So. The youth movement is here in Pittsburgh, whether you want to call it a rebuild or not. However you want to dance around it, it's happening right now. The Penguins are what they are. Their record kind of stinks. They're hanging around the potential of fighting for a wild card spot. They're bringing up youth. I think that you just move forward with it, and I'm here for it at this point, and we'll be here to cover it all.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely.
Who are you most impressed with so far, Robbie? Out of all the youth that's come through Pittsburgh since Dubas has shown up, who's on your radar as kind of the must watch, most impressed?
Well, I know it's only one game, but I really like what I saw out of Owen Pickering, in that debut. Hoping to keep that up. On the whole, I've been impressed with Joel Blomqvist. For the most part.
God,
I think Blomqvist has shown that he is the future guy in Pittsburgh. Again, he'll continue to develop. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but you kind of just those are growing pains, and he was thrown into a situation where they probably wanted to keep him in the AHL a little longer. But sometimes you get your break early, and you got to run with it and continue to learn as you go along. So those are two guys that really stick out to me right now. I'm really excited to see more of Pickering as he gets his feet a little deeper into the water as we go along here.
Sure.
So I hope he gets an extended run. Calling him up that early, it kind of feels like that he's maybe here to stay for at least a little while. But no, I like what I saw out of Pickering on night one. I like what I've seen out of Blomqvist. Hoping to see more of those guys here as the season rolls along.
That Pickering, he seems like he has like a pretty cool. He kind of reminds me of Dumoulin. He kind of seems like he's got
very
like
laid
back, easy guy to root for. If he just could, I don't know if he has it in his tool bag, but if he has some bite and snarl, and if he can prick it up, oh man, watch out! New hometown favorite. If he's a good old Canadian boy, if he's got that in his bag, gonna see a lot of Pickering jerseys in the next future.
Yep.
All right, Robbie, question from Tony Gale again, and he says here, comparing the NHL to the Premier League, this is definitely up your alley. Comparing the NHL to the Premier League, if a team had ended and started the season like the Penguins have, the coach would be out of a job by now. We've got a lot to thank Sullivan for, but is now the time for new blood?
So, Tony, if you've been listening to our recap episodes, you know that Snail and I are on the pro new coach bandwagon. We even discussed a maybe under-the-table deal with the Boston Bruins. They fired Jim Montgomery. The Penguins fired Mike Sullivan. Sullivan goes back to New England, home to Boston, to coach the Bruins. The Penguins add Jim Montgomery. I am pro completely gutting the coaching staff if they move on from Sullivan. Get a completely fresh voice in there to get these young guys acclimated and into the NHL. I think Montgomery would be a good name there. But why has he not been fired? My only thought is someone at FSG, Fenway Sports Group, the Penguins owners, is telling Kyle Dubas not to fire him. I think Dubas is smart enough that he would have made the move by now if someone else was in charge, even if it wasn't the Lemieux group, even if it was, I think because Fenway Sports Group is based out of Boston, Maybe that has something to do with it. They love. Maybe they're afraid that he's going to be fired and then go to Boston or a rival team, because we've said that if he gets fired, someone will fire their coach just to hire Mike Sullivan. Whether that is Philadelphia getting rid of Tortorella, whether that is Boston getting rid of Montgomery, whether that is someone out west.
Some good team might fire. Like Cooper might be out in Tampa.
I don't know if obviously Florida is not going to. Yeah, Florida is not going to get rid of Maurice, or Carolina just extending Brendan Moore is not going to happen. But the Washington coach is probably pretty safe right now. But yeah, I think someone would fire their head coach to get Mike Sullivan behind the bench. So maybe it's a fear that he goes in somewhere else, because he's probably going to have success wherever else he goes. It's just one of those things that gets stale. It's time for a change. He's long outlasted the shelf life of the average NHL coach. Yeah, in my opinion, in my thoughts, it's just a someone higher up is just saying you can't do it right now. Let's wait and see. Maybe it'll turn around. But Snell and I are both firmly on the side of fire the coach, get somebody new in there. So Tony, your frustrations are our frustrations. So it's just a waiting game for us. But we firmly believe it's time to get a new voice in the room. Wrapping up Tony's section here. This is a question. He posted a picture with it. It's about that Inside the NHL series that was online, and he just asked, have you seen this? Tony says he binged the whole series, and it was a great watch.
Yeah, the face-off inside the NHL. Oh, that was so good. I need more of that every year. Like, the off-season, if your team's not making the playoffs, man, I mean, I watch the playoffs no matter what, even if Penguins aren't in it, but I need hockey content for the summer. Yeah. It's funny, out here in the Pacific Northwest, I always feel like there's kind of like a second hockey season out here where with roller season. That's when roller really starts out here. Okay. It's finally consistently dry enough. So this show filled that void I watched it in one day. I literally just sat down with a 6-pack and I watched it all in one evening. But phenomenally done. I don't have too many critiques of it. I'm kind of a critic when it comes to these kinds of things, but I was just grateful that that Amazon did something like this. I got a kick out of the Leafs one. I hate the Leafs, but I watched that Leafs that they did. It was in the bubble, I believe, and I thought that was a great. I love the inside look. I love the locker room talk. Anything with Jumbo Joe in it, I'm all there for it. He's one of the best characters in the game, and they showed a lot of him and his character. But this man, with all the upcoming stars, it's so funny to me that they did the Jeremy Swayman before the contract drama hit. Yeah. They were just 4 months early on what could have been some of the juiciest, drawn out negotiation drama that's happened in in the last 5 years maybe in the NHL. Yeah. The Kachuk stuff was great. That's a hockey family, man. I love the Kachuk segments. Yeah, I was a little bummed that, and it's kind of a sign of the times, the Penguins weren't in the limelight. How many docuseries were made about the Penguins going to the Winter Classic, or, their various cup movies, documentaries they've made, or there was no Sid in it. I would have liked some Sid or Malkin coverage. Oh, yeah. There were some storylines out of the Penguins I thought would be worth filming, but it was about the young guns, the up-and-comers, and honestly, just some well-done hockey content. There's not enough of it. Give me more of it. Robbie, did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. It's actually I didn't watch it all in one weekend, but I thought it was really cool. Again, any kind of that stuff, it's great for the game as well, just to get your eyes on other players and stuff. So yeah, I'm all for that kind of stuff, and I definitely hope that we get more of it in all facets. Yeah, just any kind of content like that. People eat that stuff up, so put it out there, let people enjoy it, because I thought that kind of stuff is great.
Are they ever going to bring back In the Room for the Penguins?
I don't know. I mean, that was always really cool, but yeah, I don't know. They took last season off. I hope at some point they do bring it back.
Maybe if they're not like playoff contenders, they're just like, let's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was great, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it and watching it. If you haven't watched it, give it a watch. If you like hockey outside of just the Penguins realm, it's awesome stuff.
It is.
So, let's see here. So that was the last one from Tony. We got one from Andreas Castle, and we haven't talked about this really at all, Robbie. And he doesn't play for the Penguins, but it's big news in the hockey world. A big storyline coming into this year, and it's a simple question: will Ovi break Gretzky's record this season?
So he had a hat trick on Sunday night in Vegas.
Unreal.
What's he need? 29 now.
29. Yep.
He has 13 already. 29 would be what? 42. I'm gonna say he needs 4 after the season.
A lot of people think that too. A lot of people think he's gonna leave just a little trickle of goals for next season.
Because, I mean, if that's what it sets up as, you're going to have just insane amounts of just talk all summer about, like, it's going to be one of those things, like, when the season starts next year, you're going to have cut-ins anytime he's, like, on the ice. You're going to have little picture-in-pictures and stuff like that as he approaches the record.
Again.
What's that?
It's going to be like the Barry Bonds treatment again.
It is. It's going to be a national watch-along to see him get it. So I think he's going to need 4 goals by next season. He still needs 29 this year. Yeah, let me say he scores another 25 this year.
Well, you'd think he's going to cool off at some point because he's scoring at a pretty impeccable race for a 39-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, a hat trick the other night. I mean, come on. You have to think he will cool down. If he doesn't cool down, I mean, are we talking like trade deadline? He's breaking it.
Well, I mean, if he keeps scoring at this pace, yeah, you're talking
Christmas?
Yeah. No, not that quick. Yeah, I mean, if he keeps it up like this, I could definitely see him getting there around trade deadline, St. Patrick's Day, somewhere in there.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want him to just get it over with, kind of. If he's going to do it, just get it over with. Not that it, like, pains me, but I don't know. It's thinking about going into next season and just hearing all this stuff about the Caps and Ovi as a Penguins fan. I'm just I respect the hell out of it, though. Like, I am not chapped about Ovi at all. Like, I respect, him and Sid rivals, great to watch my whole upcoming, but like, let's be honest, like, you got to tip your hat to the guy. And I don't know. I'd like him to just get it done this season, and then maybe he retires next year.
Yeah.
We don't have to see Ovi.
That's a possibility. At this point, he's gonna play until he gets it. Anyway,
I heard people joking that he breaks the record and he walks off the ice and like he breaks the record and then he's like Antonio Brown. He takes the jersey off and he goes out off the ice and he's like, I'm gonna go play for, like, Moscow or something now.
In the middle of the game too, like, not even after. He just, like, he scores, they do the celebration, and then he takes his jersey off as he walks off the ice, and you just never see him again. Like, he's just gone.
Gives a little salute to the crowd, a little wave to everybody, takes the jersey off, and then that's it. Who did that in the ML? Did somebody do that in the MLB? They broke a record and they left. Did John Kruk do something like that?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody just up and left.
I swear. I mean, Antonio Brown did, but that's
CTE. Because he got kicked off the team.
Oh, he got kicked off?
Basically, yeah. It was a whole entire... AB is a character in himself.
I think... Let me look at this quick here. Fun fact about John Kruk. He retired as a player mid-game. And that's what I just picture Ovi doing. I picture him breaking the record. He went 1-1 to conveniently get his career batting average up to 300 exactly, and he took himself out of the game. Legend.
Perfect. Do it.
Yeah, I want to see Ovi do that.
All right. Kind of sticking with that, Edward Beckham says, "We all know it will happen, but will you be happy to see Ovechkin break the goal record?"
If you ask me
If you asked me
10,
5 years ago, 10 years ago, I'd have been
10
no.
I'd say maybe within 10 years ago, I'd say no. I'd be like, come on. First of all, he's not going to do it. Second of all, why would I want him to? As I get older, I've gotten a little bit softer, believe it or not. And, I think here's my thing with it. As a Penguins fan aside, what fandom aside, rivalries, all that put aside, I love old hockey. Like I think growing up I was so like romanced by the sport because of kind of the way that it was played back then. I thought hockey was great for a lot of reasons. And those things are different now. But when you have someone like Ovi breaking a record like this, it shines a light on the past.
Oh yeah.
And Gretzky, we all know the name Gretzky. Hell, I knew the name Gretzky even as just like as a sports encompassing sports fan, not just a hockey fan. But you know the name Gretzky. But let's be honest, like how much Gretzky did we really watch in the years where we were watching a lot of hockey, Robbie? Like,
yeah, I don't know if I ever saw him play in person. I really don't think I did.
I certainly didn't.
Yeah, out in
Olympics,
Seattle.
probably saw him play in an Olympics.
Yeah, you don't remember it though nearly as much. Like Yager, I remember. Mario, I remember.
I remember
Madonna.
like Shanny and Yzerman.
I saw all those great Red Wings players. Sakic, Forsberg, Waugh. I saw multiple times. I saw Brodeur more times than I care to count. I saw Hasek in person. I remember that game. That was a 2-1 win against the Sabres. I think Yager scored in that game. Even your modern Salon. I don't know if I ever saw the Ducks play before, like the Getzlaff, Corey Perry era. I've seen McDavid multiple times already.
Yeah.
Draisaitl, obviously a part of that as well. Have not seen Bedard. I saw the prime Kings teams. I saw the prime Blackhawks teams in person. Obviously Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Fleury, multiple times. I do believe I've seen Iginla play. Madonna I saw. I've seen like even your lesser like Doug Waite. I've seen
Dougie Waite. Nice.
Dougie Waite. A lot of just great players. Lindros, Leclerc, Recchi, Chara, Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, all those guys I've seen.
Bork? Or not Phil Bork.
Ray Bork. I would have said, I probably saw him when he played. Well, he played like 99% of his career with
Boston.
Boston. Yeah, I think I saw Boston when I was really young. I saw Roenick, Belfour.
But Wayne.
Wayne, I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I think maybe it was just so hard to get tickets when he came into Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he was like
because most of my growing up, he only really played for Western Conference teams. He was really at the Rangers at the very end of his career.
St. Louis,
Oilers,
LA.
St. Louis, LA, and those teams. It's not like now where you guarantee a spot to see those teams in your hometown every year. It's not like it wasn't like that back then. So
no, so just the light being shown on that era, and not that Wayne needs the spotlight again, but I'm all for it. I'm excited to see what comes out of him getting close. This was a record that was probably, the points record is one that will never be broken. I think that's the next one where we're like, that's the one that will not be broken. But the goal one was right there with it. And Ovi just chipped away year after year after year at 35 goals, 45 goals, 50 goals, 50 goals, 45. He just chipped away, and here we are, him and Sid, what has it been, 19 years in the NHL, and he's at the door, and it's impeccable. In my mind, I think mathematically it should have never been done. The way that he played the game, who plays like an old school player. He used to remember how big the hits he used to lay, Robbie?
Oh man.
Like, do you remember how he trucked dudes? You'd think like he was like a, I don't know, just longevity wise, that he was a player that wouldn't make it this long in the NHL. But he's learned to pick his spots. He got smarter about when to lay the body, and now he's just, the goals never slowed down though. So I'm all for the light being shown back on this era on Wayne, and it's gonna conjoin two eras that are very near and dear to my heart. Old school, the older hockey from the late '80s, the '90s, the early 2000s. Well, Wayne retired in what, 2000?
99, I think.
99.
Pretty sure.
Didn't quite
99.
make it to the early 2000s, but '90s hockey is amazing as well, and it's gonna and Ovi, his rookie year was 05, right? So
yeah, same year as Crosby. Yep.
so it's gonna just kind of bridge these two eras, and I think he's in Ovi's kind of a dinosaur in this era right now, so I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Robbie, where are you at with it?
Yeah, like you said, 10 years ago would have absolutely hated the idea of it. Now, I mean, you just don't see records like this broken ever in any sport, really. LeBron broke the points record in the NBA a year or two ago. People thought that was never going to be broken. I don't think anybody's ever going to touch Bond's career home runs record. In the NFL, I'm trying to think, rushing yards, receiving yards, passing yards. There's just, anytime those legendary career records are in jeopardy, I think it's cool, even if you don't like the player doing it, just because it's a respect thing. And there's probably people that, like back when 10 years ago, like I would have been 25. There's probably 25-year-olds now that probably have that hate for players that they don't want to see broken, or them to be the ones. But I will say that if any of those people are listening, appreciate these greats while you got them, because they don't come around all the time. Enjoy McDavid. Obviously beating a dead drum, and enjoying Crosby. But Ovechkin, I've definitely learned to appreciate his greatness over the years. So, I think he will break it. Obviously, it's a matter of if not when, or when not if. But I'm gonna enjoy it, appreciate it, and give him his flowers when it happens, because he's definitely gone out there, and you can't really say that he hasn't earned it.
Agreed. I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
Be curious to know what you guys all think. Be funny if out in Europe some of these guys just have such a hate on for Ovi.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely not. All right. This question is from Edward Beckham, and he asks, "We all know it will." Oh, whoops, nope. This is that was the last question. Do you both do much on Thanksgiving? Do you go to family, etc.? Watch sports? Robbie, what do you do? What do you do for what does Thanksgiving in the Noggle household look like?
So it's at my grandma's house, which is like a couple miles from where we live. We usually, my mom and I stay over the night before, because to help out in the morning, get up, get the turkey ready, get the sides ready. This year there's going to be about 8-9 of us, I think, at her house. We eat around 12:30, 1 o'clock. We do a lunch. All the fixins that you think of Thanksgiving: the turkey, the mashed potatoes, the stuffing, gravy, pies, whatever you can think, whatever you picture a typical Thanksgiving. We're basically a very traditional Thanksgiving from our angle. Watch the parade in the morning, watch football in the afternoon. But yeah, just a very traditional Thanksgiving with family. So I'm looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite holidays. Just great food, great fellowship with family. And it's kind of like, it's a great time of year. Everybody seems a little bit nicer and a little bit happier this time of year. So we'll see. We'll see everyone at Thanksgiving. If you're from Europe, one of our European listeners, I'm sad that you guys don't get this holiday, but let us know if there's a Thanksgiving-esque holiday in your country, because I think that's kind of interesting to learn about. What's your like fellowship holiday, I guess I would say, your giving thanks holiday. We know Canada tried to copy the United States and made a fake Thanksgiving. But no, a lot of family, a lot of family, a lot of food, some football. Yeah, very traditional. So that's how we do it. How does it happen out in your household, Mr. Snail?
Well, for years it was kind of the same deal. We do Thanksgiving much later. We do typically like a dinner. We do
Okay.
it at my grandma's house. I think COVID kind of disrupted our tradition a bit, and then it's kind of funny. Our family just kind of realized doing it kind of all in our little respective homes and not having a ton of guests over like we did. I mean, we did big Thanksgiving and Christmases for my whole life up until God, my late 20s, and then COVID happened, and now we just kind of it's a smaller Thanksgiving, but I love it. It's the same. It's got all the right ingredients to make a cozy, happy evening with the fam. Yeah, the only thing that's different probably in ours than the average household is uh, with my partner included and my sister and my mom, we're all vegan. So my
Okay.
my dad's the only one that isn't vegan, much to his chagrin. He likes to make he's actually started. He doesn't since we don't do a traditional big turkey, and he doesn't really have the want to put in the effort to do a turkey. Every year he makes himself. He has a panini press, and he just goes.
Nice.
He makes himself a Thanksgiving panini with. He goes out and gets some like turkey cold cuts, the cranberry sauce, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, the gravy, and he just makes himself a big panini and
Honestly,
has that.
credit to your dad for doing that. That is actually really really funny.
Yeah.
Um, he's stuck in a house with a bunch of vegans, so he just goes like, I mean, I don't even know what to really call that. That's it'd be really funny if he got like a small like rotisserie chicken and just like
Yeah.
just pulled it apart and put it on a on like a or if he just like sat down at the dinner table with like his full chicken
Yeah, just a
and then just
chicken.
started
A
eating it
Costco
like a
chicken.
yeah, like a Costco chicken, just started eating it like a Neanderthal or something like that. Just like
Oh,
taking it and going like an apple and just biting right
just
into the
ripping
breast.
into it, tearing into it, being I mean, I've seen him eat like that before. He's not far from it. It's just kind of become his little tradition is the panini thing now,
That is
but
pretty. That is actually like this is my Thanksgiving sandwich, guys.
yeah.
That's really funny.
Well,
That's
he's
really
like, yeah,
funny.
if we're throwing all tradition out, then I'm just gonna go for the panini. He loves himself a panini. They have a panini press that my parents both love to use. A
Yeah,
panini's good, Robbie. I
I
mean,
love
who
a
doesn't love a
panini.
good
We
panini?
yeah, I have a George Foreman, which is basically
There you
just a
go.
bigger
Yeah.
panini press, and I'll do like um sandwiches on there if I'm in the mood for it.
Turn a
Uh
cold cut sandwich into a hot cut sandwich quick.
oh, we do. I love hot ham and cheese
Ooh,
sandwiches.
yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff on the. A panini's really hard to beat. But it's
Phenomenal
just
sandwich.
really funny. I was gonna see him pull up to the panini press with his cold cut turkey, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, and stuffing, and just like packing it on there.
What's funny is I don't want to say like I want to say that he doesn't even necessarily like he probably has multiple in a day and he doesn't even necessarily wait for dinner. Like he might make one while we're all cooking
Just
and
shows up.
then just kind of like snacks on one and then he makes himself another one for dinner just to like have representation at the table and then he might not even finish it and then it's
It's
straight to
really
pie.
that's really funny. That's a classic dad move too.
I feel like
Um,
that's straight off of like a
a
How I Met Your
sitcom.
Mother or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely a sitcom move. That like all this family's having this big fancy meal, and then he sits down with what is basically a hot sandwich. Very very classic dad move, but very very funny, and I appreciate the effort on your dad's part for uh, making that his own tradition.
So Robbie, get this. So my family traditionally, it's kind of funny in our family too, which maybe this goes into your tradition as well. Like obviously growing up, I feel like my grandparents and the elders in our family did all the cooking and preparation. My mom and the uncles and aunts kind of helped, and then the
Yeah,
kids just we just like would play like football in the basement or something. But then as we got older, I feel like it kind of skipped a generation, and my sister and I kind of started taking over like doing Thanksgiving up, like
yeah.
doing all the prepping and cooking and everything. So now my mom and everyone else can kind of just chill. This year it was suggested to me. There's a couple of good vegan restaurants out here in Seattle we're lucky to have, but they do a vegan Thanksgiving catering. and
Ooh.
you call in an order and you just go and you pick it up. You pay like $150 and you go and you pick up a whole Thanksgiving meal prepared by these restaurants. I'm a traditionalist. I hated this idea. I fought against it, and I thought everyone would be on my side. I was like, "Why are we going to order? We're going to cook like usual."
Yeah.
You get up early and you kind of start making everything. You're just hanging in the kitchen all day. You're throwing on sports on the TV. You're maybe cracking open a beer a little bit earlier than you would normally. It's the holidays. But no, I had significant pushback, and
Wow.
I was outnumbered significantly, even by my dad, who has no, he doesn't even care what we're eating. He outnumbered me as well, saying, "Why don't you just go and you pick up the order? It'll make Thanksgiving easy." I was outnumbered. We're ordering a Thanksgiving meal this year as opposed to preparing it.
I will say I am on your side as a traditionalist.
Thank you.
That the meal should be cooked by, um, unless there'd be something that would prevent you from cooking it. I believe that tradition should overtake convenience, and the meal should be cooked in the house.
I said that I might just cook my own Thanksgiving meal and it'll be available to everybody because I looked at the menu and I'm like, it's not cooked with love. It's not cooked by, someone who's off the holiday spirit, which is Rainier beer and maybe a little nip of whiskey. It's just the it's not going to taste the same. So I think I'm going to probably go ahead and just make what I normally would make anyways. And there's just going to be way too much food. And that's okay because we all know Thanksgiving food tastes almost better the next day
Oh yeah.
or
Oh,
that night
Thanksgiving leftovers are maybe one of the best meals of the maybe the single
maybe
best meal of the year is
of the
the day
year.
after.
I dude, there are times where I eat Thanksgiving and then I almost like go have a nap or something and then I wake up that night sweaty in a carb crash and I just go and I might be making a similar to what my dad makes, just fixing up a plate of cold leftovers, throw it in the microwave for a minute and just right back to mucking.
Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, that I'm excited for
Oh
Thanksgiving.
yeah.
That talk just made me so hungry.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. One question. It's not even really a question here from Edward. He just said that a couple of sayings that we use he really enjoys, including your standard piss and vinegar, and then the top cheese, top cheddar, which is a very common hockey saying. But Edward wanted to point out that he was a big fan of our vernacular. So
that's so funny because a former host of the show, Garrett Bahana, he hated those terms.
he
Like he
did.
hated like those hockey terms,
Yeah.
which is such a Scrooge move. It's like that's just what they've been called for so long, and he hates
Yeah.
it. I wonder if Garrett even liked hockey very much because he hated fighting, he hated physicality, he just wanted goals, and then he'd always talk about soccer. I'm like, are you actually just a soccer fan, Garrett? Are you confused?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Garrett definitely disliked your uh,
The piss and vinegar.
piss and vinegar saying, because you use it to describe basically guys that are just out there um, throwing bodies, kind of
Oh,
grinding
like that
away.
Reeves hit the other night on Darnell Nurse. You see
Yeah, he
that?
turned it. There's a picture of that, and Darnell Nurse's head is literally turned like an owl, like it is like backwards on
Yeah,
his. Yeah,
that
it's
did
pretty.
not. It
It was.
looked like sriracha sauce packet broke in his helmet. That was
Yeah,
disturbing. Oh,
yeah.
he got suspended. That's not the piss and vinegar I necessarily.
No,
I
that's
like the.
clearly an illegal hit. And he
Oh
got, yeah,
yeah,
he paid the price for it. It was brutal. And he's not really the guy. Like, yeah, he's obviously a enforcer type,
he's
hard
not
nosed
dirty
player,
though,
but he's
really.
not never really. I don't know. He may have been suspended in the past for a game or two. I can't really say, but he's never been known as a dirty player, just a hard nosed grinder type player.
100%. A little out of character for the big enforcer, but yeah, the piss and vinegar, man. It's one of the things about hockey that I love that separates it from a lot of other sports, and I don't know how else to have described it. I think it's just a nice way of saying like get physical, hurt like don't hurt, don't hit people necessarily to hurt them, but physicality is used in this game and it can be used to your advantage if you do it right. And sometimes I see this Penguins team specifically, and they've driven me crazy over the years with shying away from that. And I think sometimes you see the success teams that embrace that and have players that embrace that role, not the punching in the head part, but the physicality part. And you see them have success, and you just, I sometimes I looked at rosters the Penguins have had and said, if maybe they had a couple of guys on their team like back when they were successful in, when they went back to back in 08 and 09, and even years after that, the 2010, 11, 12, they had players that played that role and they were successful, and they've strown from that so much, and I think that there's a place for it still in hockey. I've heard Sid himself say that he likes. There was an interview post game where there was some of that, and he said he was happy to see that it was still that the game still has that in it, and he embraces it, and that's your captain talking. Who, Sid's a skilled guy, but he's a grinder himself.
He is.
He plays
he's a
on
true
the edge.
He's a true grinder. Absolutely.
He's a true grinder, physical. He's not the biggest guy, but he uses he uses the physicality aspect of the sport. He's played on the edge for a lot of his career, and man, if that's not a sign that you can have success with a player like that, I mean, Sid's an anomaly, but get some other play. I love Achari. I love Noel Achari this year. He's really come out of his.
He's finally playing like the guy that we thought they were going to get. So hopefully that keeps up. That's for sure.
So that's where piss and vinegar comes from, and we love when players go top cheese, top sugar, top corns, whatever is saying you like. That means the puck is in the net and it was probably shot beautifully, and hopefully we get a lot more of that this year because, man, as we said, the Penguins they are kind of what they are, but like that Sharks game, the Ducks game, it's when the Penguins play mid-teams and it's a mid-off, it makes for some pretty exciting hockey.
It does, absolutely.
If they're going to suck, let's get some excitement.
Absolutely. So, but that is it for this mailbag. Good to be back on the mailbag train here for a little bit. I think next week when the Penguins schedule allows us to probably scooch in another one. So, as for the rest of this week, game recaps. Tampa Bay on Tuesday night, and then I believe they have a weekend back-to-back, so we'll see how we want to schedule that as well. But they are home for all these, a nice little home stretch here. But the Penguins hey, as long as they're in that mix, you just got to kind of find a way to win games, and they did that against San Jose, so let's hope it keeps rolling this week with Tampa, Winnipeg, and Utah in town for their inaugural visit to PPG Paints Arena. So that's about all I got. Snail, do you have anything before we put a bow on this?
No, I was just looking at the calendar though. It'd be cool to get another mailbag in before Thanksgiving, and we got some curiosity out of our European listeners about Thanksgiving. But if you're listening, God, we got to get Garrett on it sometime. Maybe have a little Thanksgiving episode, talk about the traditions of Thanksgiving and all of that. Because this episode got me hyped for it. I'm starving. I cannot wait to get holiday spirit is right around the corner. Maybe everyone's feeling it already, but I'm certainly getting ready for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Penguins don't soil themselves over this next stretch of games because it's some tough competition, but we will see. Other than that, Robbie, that's all I really got.
All right. So that puts a wrap on this mailbag episode. We thank you guys for asking the questions. We'll have another tweet going out next week for another mailbag episode, so pay attention for that. And that is all we have for today. So for Snail, I'm Robbie. We will talk to you guys later this week.